Actually, this is my story. This is what I do. And my story has a background in it. I'm a KF UPM graduate, by the way, in Saudi. And I did a lot of computer business since 1985. I'm old. But in 1997, I decided I will do information security, so I shut down my other business and I started doing information security. And in information security, as a system integrator, I've been implementing everything inside the organization, from firewalls to the endpoint security, and as well as assessments and policy procedures and so on. Now, the one thing which has driven my way of working is this philosophy that I will only do things as long as it gives value to everyone. If I don't feel value, then I'm not supposed to be doing that aspect. Sometimes a lot of, alhamdulillah, mashallah, my team does a good job. So we have appeared in that sense in the global leadership role of digital risk protection. This is important to understand that you are having so many vendors inside the organization. An average company will have here at least, we can say that between 10 to 20 security vendors, whereas in bigger organizations there are up to 50 security vendors in every organization. Now, they all, as soon as something happens, they all bring you some threat intel. A news will come in. And not only them, you will see a lot of this intelligence coming from security blogs, Telegram channels, dark web, WhatsApp groups. Everybody is in WhatsApp group, some security professionals, and they will all post those. It is an overburden really. And then comes in fear mongering. I am from this industry, my apologies. There's a lot of fear mongering. Vendors come to you and tell you all the stories about what can go wrong and what has gone wrong, and they make all these big claims. I call it malicious marketing. That is not the right approach, but that's how the industry works, because people respond to them. So something has to change. So we have to first figure out what is a threat intelligence platform. Normally, if you look at any kind of like a definition, this is the NIST definition. First, what is threat intelligence? Threat information that has been aggregated, transformed, analyzed, interpreted, or enriched to provide the necessary context for decision-making process. Unless it does not assist you in decision-making, that threat intel is fluff. This is my view. Apologies if I'm offending anybody. You know, we get this, when I said earlier, if I give you the name of a threat actor, does it make a difference? Who is the threat actor? Let alone, this should be called really actionable threat intelligence. That's the most important piece. The threat intelligence, if anybody brings to you, they should tell you what can you do to secure yourself. Now, think of it. The global threat intel reports come to you. Does it matter? Something happened in China, something happened in Russia, or a regional threat intelligence comes to you. Well, okay, in the region, maybe I want to know. But if it is a national one, okay, fine. I'll be more concerned. If it is my industry, I'll be more concerned. But the most important is me, myself. Give me threat intel which is impacting me, or tell me what to do about it. It should be risk-based. And out of all of this threat intel we get, there is very, very little which is really of value from that sense. So how do we look at it? All of this threat intel which comes to us, look at how the industry works. They give you indicators of compromise. IOCs, everybody knows what is an IOC? Right? Indicators of compromise. So this is the value from all the threat intel which you're really getting, and normally the threat intel provider will come and tell you, here is a threat intel report, here are the IOCs, key them into your security incident management and push them to all your security technologies. I have a question there actually. If I do that on my endpoint security, I have a vendor. Let's say it's CrowdStrike or Trend Micro or Symantec, whichever is on the endpoint they already are updating their endpoint with all the IOCs required. So why should I enter it manually? The IOCs are there, which is the blacklisted domains, hash or IPs. Similarly, if I go and look at network security, the relevant IOCs, they are updating every day. I look at intrusion detection and prevention, they are also doing updating. Parameter firewalls, email and web firewalls, they are also updating. So everybody is updating with the IOC, so why should I enter them manually? This is my big question. And the SIM is already correlating everything. So where is the threat intel which will make a difference to me? So let's look at the attack chain. This is a Lockheed Martin, they call it the cyber kill chain as well. There are 7 steps in an attack. It starts from reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, and ends at actions or objectives which they're trying to do. So out of these 7 steps, where are those IOCs and what else is there? In fact, EC Council took the 7 steps and made it slightly into 8 steps. Good, but you go to MITRE attack kill chain, what you will find is that they've taken it into 14 stages of an attack. They've done a beautiful job. They've not only described to you the 14 stages, they've also came up with a framework for every single technique being used for each of the stage. So you can take any attack and you can map it, how the attack is progressing and what type of techniques the attacker is using. This is completely not being used. This is the best part, but really not being used. Why is my big question. So let's just go through in the sense of understanding why the techniques which MITRE is mentioning are really, really important. Look at the bottom of the pyramid, hash values. So if I give you the hash value of a file which is malicious, does it really count? Why? Because the attacker can just add 1 space in his code and the hash value will change. So it's so easy for the attacker. Do you think the attacker will use the same file to target different companies? They'll change it. They keep on changing it. So it's so easy for them. Same thing with IP address. There are IP addresses can be changed with little effort in a short period. So if you're blacklisting an IP, the attacker will come from a different IP. Same goes for domain names. Nowadays, in fact, the malicious file, they come in with an auto-generator of the domain names. The domain names keep on changing for each of the attack. So what good are these IOCs? This is what I meant when I said the new perspective. You have to look at network code artifacts, tools, but the most important is techniques. Do you know that over the last 15-20 years, the techniques have remained the same? If the techniques have remained the same, what have we done for those techniques? How are we doing something to mitigate those attacks, looking at those techniques and thinking, what can we do? Now let's look back at the same attack chain. And I'm going to give you some terminologies which are not being used. And I wonder why. So the first thing they do is reconnaissance. You know, this is indicators of exposure. Do you know what a hacker can see about you when he's doing reconnaissance? Or why will he select you when he's doing reconnaissance? In a street, there are 10 houses, a robber wants to go into one of the houses. Which house will he choose? He'll do a reconnaissance. He'll find out the weaknesses for the attack he wants to do, and then go into that house. So we should look at that, and that is called indicators of exposure. They should be part of your threat intel, which are not there today. Next, number 2, weaponization. Indicators of warning. He has not even touched your system. He has set up a domain name looking like your domain name. He has impersonated your mobile app. He has created a fake Facebook account. These are all indicators of warning. He's putting together the attack. Where is that threat intel? Why is that not being focused on in threat intel? Then, number 3, at the delivery, indicators of attack. There are so many ways you can identify when an attack is really imminent or happening to you. At that point, it should be these terminologies which I just mentioned, indicators of exposure, warning, and attack. How many people have ever seen them being used by any security provider? I doubt. And that's the missing piece. What about how much time it takes in this attack chain? Do you know the reconnaissance and weaponization? The attacker has the time of his life, whatever, how much time it takes. And you're letting him do that without even identifying if he's doing so. The exploitation takes a few seconds. All the IFCs are focused either on exploitation or installation. So we are missing. And we can actually, the place where all the techniques are being used is the command and control and the actions and objectives, or at the installation. So that's the area where the techniques. Now that is, if you know of any attack, you will know that once they enter the organization, they spend a few months for lateral movement. Now there are technologies which are behavior based and they identify them. Good, not bad, it's really good, but there are other things you can do. You have to kill the attack chain by hardening your environment. You can harden your environment for the techniques which are being used. So think of it. I just put in one, restrict PowerShell. If you can control PowerShell within your environment, do you know how many ransomware and APTs you can block by just one hardening? You don't have to harden for everything, by the way. You have to harden for what the risk you feel. So it's not about doing everything all the time, it's rather doing little bit smart things some of the time. Do you know Chromebook? If I show you my computer, it's a Chromebook. That's the best hardening. I don't use Windows. 80% of my staff uses Chromebook. So all the Windows exploits, which is all for the lateral movement, goes away. Okay. So the value proposition which I bring in for threat intelligence, I have a platform called Threat Cover. I don't charge for it. This platform is very nice, a lot of information. I'm sorry, it's fluff. You can't do anything, but I have done something in that which makes a lot of sense because I'm giving you all the hardening for each technique. This is unique, mashallah. Sitting here in Bahrain, we are the only company globally today who's doing something like this. We are building this hardening techniques for all the type of attack techniques. We're building the hardening guideline. We're going to open it up for others to publish the same content. Like globally, there is something called FIRST, Forum of Incident Response Teams. We will allow them to build the content starting next year. So the whole world as a community will build this content and everybody can use it because for every environment you may require a different type of hardening. So that is what we are bringing in as value proposition. The other piece which is also very, very, very important in your threat intel is the third party. Supply chain. My tagline is you're as secure as your vendor. You could have done all the security, but what about your vendor? You have given him access to your system and his system is breached, or your data is with them, or you have given access to the data in your environment. So what about them? This is the threat intel which you can have today so easily. It is a very important piece. You know, in the MITRE techniques, it says that supply chain compromise. It's one of the techniques. This is just, I think, March 1, 2022, Toyota halts production after cyber attack on supplier. So because of the supplier, Toyota shut down their production plant. This is just to give you, I don't know how many of you know the SolarWinds hack which happened a while back, due to which thousands of companies in the world, including Microsoft, everybody got breached because the hacker had put in a piece of code in SolarWinds code which was being used by many organizations and everybody got breached. And if the breach happened, or it was at least discovered many years back, and up till now, the attack is being felt. A year after the solar hack, supply chain threat still looms. So what I'm saying is that let's change the perspective of threat intel and add these pieces. External IOE, indicators of attack, industry now has terminologies for it. It's called external attack surface management, third party cyber risk, DMARC, continuous or autonomous VAPT. Then IOA, indicators of attack and indicators of warning, is really digital risk protection. And then there is TTP, the risk-based hardening. And you'll be surprised to know, here in Bahrain, mashallah, we have built the company with all of these technologies. This is just the dashboard to show you about our hacker view. Hacker view is a product which tells you how the hacker is looking at you, the reconnaissance piece, indicators of exposure. Then we have the third-party risk monitoring within that. We also have the cyber blind spot, which is identifying the attacks and the attacker and the data points, and we neutralize them as well, do the takedowns also. This is a concept which I built. This is why I said this is my story. This was my concept which I started building. Now ratified globally because Gartner reports and everybody is saying that all these different technologies need to merge, and the companies which were in threat intel are trying to acquire a company which was doing DRP, or a DRP company is trying to acquire a company which is external attack surface, whereas mashallah we have built all of them. This is our digital risk protection stack, I call it. Thank you. I hope it was useful.
The things that you see that are happening on the social media, you are.
IT security, look in the physical world, it is similar to the police. What is the job of the police? The job of the police is not to stop you, but be invisible and make you go around the city as much and at whatever time you want. The real job is that. So similarly, IT security job is not to tell people don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. They have to create a secure environment where users can do as much as they want. Whereas information security is not about the people, it is about the assets. They have to secure the assets. They're like the military. The job of the military is they need to secure the critical assets of the country. People may die, but they need to secure the assets. So that's a different mission. You divide the team, the balance will happen. Finally comes cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is not about people, it's not about assets, it's only about attacks and the attacker. Just like the intelligence agency, which will go outside the country to neutralize an imminent attack which has not yet even happened. So that's the three definitions. If organization has these three pillars in it, then this will be managed. Sorry? Great, thank you.
It's a bit of discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to continue, please join Mirza and his beautiful team with the CTM360.
Yeah, we have a booth here, CTM360. Do visit.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.